Hello and welcome to computer class. My name is Dave and today we're talking about how to create good PowerPoints using PowerPoint, of course. So open up a PowerPoint presentation and we will get started. Now this opening slide of my presentation here that says creating good PowerPoints was designed in PowerPoint. This is just simply a shape. This is an icon. This is another shape, and then we have some fonts here. But what makes this stand out and pop and look so good? I want to kind of break it down for you. What actually makes great PowerPoints and what makes them look good? Just 3 simple steps, to be honest, and it should greatly improve your PowerPoints overall. So the first step is to use simple content. And simple content, by that I mean shapes, icons, and fonts. Shapes, and I'll show you where shapes are. Let me just hit escape here real quickly. Shapes are in the insert tab, and if you just use shapes, you can build some amazing looking slides. Here, this is a shape right here. This is a shape. This background is a shape that I stretched over this PowerPoint. This line down here is a shape. This is another shape. And see how I created a flow graphic, if you will, with the shapes. Icons are another thing you can find in the icons button right here. You can search for pretty much anything you want and it will appear. Here we have a pair of glasses, alarm clock, and you can change the color of those icons once you pop open the graphics formatting panel here. So you can change the color to anything you basically want. So I picked a theme. I picked black and blue, and then you just throw these shapes, icons, and fonts. This is an example of a font, and make sure you use word art. Word art is very customizable. Basically, you can change, let me just show you right here, you can change the text fill and text outline, which is not something you can do if you just create a regular slide here. Here's a regular slide where you click and add text. If I highlight this, there's not really much I can do besides change the color. I can't do the outline and stuff. Whereas there's so much more functionality when I use word art, which is on the insert tab, word art right here. Because now what I can do with this is I can give this text an outline if I wanted to of green, for instance, and it's not very high in weight, but there you go. I could give it a weight of that. I could do text effects to it, so I could make it really stand out like that, and you can see how this is super customizable as a result, the word art is. So just utilizing this simple content like the shapes, the icons, and the fonts, you can really do a lot to make your PowerPoint presentation really awesome. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is use graphic content. Okay, simple content and graphic content. And what I would do is, you notice this background here, what I have is a overlay on top of a shape. Okay, now you can do this several ways, and I'll show you how to do both of them. But first you need an image, and this image is shining through this background. So notice, here we go, here is a background. Let me zoom out a little bit. And there is an image behind it. So where I get images from is unsplash.com, churchmotiongraphics.com, or pexels.com, or just simply by the PowerPoint search. So I'll go into all these right now. So here is pexels.com. If I search for the word mountain, yeah, I can just download a mountain. If I do the same thing on unsplash.com, there we go. And I'll link all these down in the description. But all of these allow us to find pictures of mountains and download them. I just simply hit download, and there I have an image for a mountain. Okay. Churchmotiongraphics.com, if you click on their free section, and then you look at their free backgrounds, there we go. If I can scroll down to it, my mouse is getting a little stuck there. They have hundreds of these. You just hit view all, and there's hundreds of backgrounds that you can use for slides. And some of these are going to be more church related and worship oriented, but it depends on what you're making your slideshows for. So this is a great way to make great PowerPoints, if you will. So here I have this background now. Let me go back to my PowerPoint slide, give myself a new slide, and I'm just going to slide in this, drag and drop it in, okay? And I'm going to resize it to kind of fit here. crop. And then voila. Now if I want to tint this so that my text shows up really well, there's two ways I could do that. Number one is I could click the photo, hit picture format, go to corrections, and drop down the color contrast to a lower tint color. But that may not be what I want to do. Maybe I want to do certain customization with it, like create a gradient over top of it or something like that. The way that I do that is inserting a shape over top of it. So here I'll just drag this shape over top. I want to make sure the outline is set to no outline. The shape fill, I'm sorry, the shape effects, we're just going to go to any one of these and click on the options. And then under the fill here, what I can do is I can pull this to transparency. And usually I'll do it about 45. And I could change this to any color I want to. If I want to be black, I can pull it over black. It's a nice like deep gradient there, and then my text will really show up well. If I want it to be a gradient, I could do this and have different stops. So let me do that as well. I'll pick orange, and then on this stop, I'll pick blue, and then I will pull the transparency up to almost 50 there. Let's rotate it to make it look good. And there we go. And then you would, of course, insert the word art on there. Mountain. Make sure our S is turned off. We don't like that. Arial font. And you could do any number of things to it. I mean, you could make it bold if you want to. Arial black might be better. Okay. And then turn the color to white. So you could see how that you can create a really awesome looking graphic really fast with just these simple things, this overlay feature and this graphic content type of a layout. So that's the second thing I recommend. Let me go back to slideshow and hit play. And there is a third thing I recommend, and that is that we use font layouts. And so here are my top favorite fonts. Microsoft Sans and Arial. Now these two are both going to be a sans serif font, which means that they don't have the little serifs. Let me show you what I mean. If I go to Home and click this, and if I wanted to change the word font to a serif, I could do Times New Roman. You see how it has the little serif sticking off of it? Microsoft Sans and Arial do not have that. And then what I would do is I would use variations of this in my presentation. And so using uppercase or using lowercase creates different effects for your presentation. Using italics and bold are all specifically going to give you different looks for your, as well as using different sizes of fonts too. So as an example here, throughout this PowerPoint presentation here, I've used a italics, and everything else has been just regular, lowercase. Okay, italics, lowercase. This was an uppercase. Again, it all gives different types of emphasis, and I can't explain to you how important fonts can be when it comes to creating different layouts and looks. So speaking of layouts, that's kind of the last thing. How you use your layouts would be number 4. And let me just give you some examples of some layouts that you can do. Notice how I've divided things up here. Spacing and putting things and giving enough room for things to breathe is a really big deal when it comes to making your presentations. But here's an example. Here is a shape that I've thrown on top of a background with a picture from unsplash.com. And here's a main heading and a subheading underneath. You can see it's all, it's capitalizing the first letter of everything and then the subheading. Okay, here's another example. This is quote looks better this way when it's broken up like this. I just took the quote and leveled it out. And in the corners, I have shapes as well. Just a different way of laying things out. Another way of laying things out, doing a two-sided. We have a picture on one side and a shape on the other side. And this is just a gradient shape like I just showed you how to do. And then here is a quote with emphasis on every word in the sentence. And basically, I just took these words and went to shape format, and the shape fill around the text is set to black. So the shape, the text fill is set to white, but the shape fill is set to black. And I could change this to anything I want. I could turn it to orange if I want to. But it really creates a huge amount of emphasis, as you can see, around this text when I have it encased in color. Okay? So just a different way to think. And there's thousands of ways to lay out text and thousands of combinations to lay out slides. But these are just ways that really make things stand out. It's a contrast oriented thing. There's a light color on a dark background. Really, really emphasis there. And here's an example of maybe I was doing a lesson for something like the 5 faces of the internet, something I teach in my classes. I have if I want to break this slide down for you, I have a gradient over top of a picture here. I'm sorry, I have a shape underneath of a picture that I've made a little bit transparent. So the picture is the gradient. I then have a shape over top of this and then some elements on here to designate what I'm teaching. Okay. Next is maybe a slide. If you're laying out information, you have like a graphic on one side and information on the other. Again, very simple and easy to understand, straightforward for people as they are reading your information. Very easy to read fonts that are very modern in the sans serif format. And that's it. That's kind of all the suggestions I have. Maybe you can comment some more down below in the comments section and help other people out. But creating good PowerPoints is definitely an art, and it's harder than most people think. But with a little practice and using some of these tips we've shared here, you can create amazing PowerPoints. Hopefully you've learned something today, you've liked the video and subscribed to the channel. And as always, I will see you in the next video.